Hello everybody, this is Kyrix with more This Week in Kyrix. Today is Wednesday, April 8th, and yes, this time I actually did pay attention to what freaking day it was. Believe it or not. Yeah, sorry about last week, I completely lost track of time, you know? I mean, I forgot what day it was, kind of lost track of time. And of course, I started on this end because I didn't want to forget where I was and what I was doing, because I completely forgot. I knew I was in the middle of some project, but until right then I forgot what it was. Yay! Did you figure out what I was doing? That's a good question. But nobody ever leaves comments, so I'll never know. But yeah, I can't speak for a lot of other people who do videos of Let's Plays and other things on YouTube and Dailymotion, but I, for one, love to answer my comments. So, if you comment, I will probably reply. As long as it's not something stupid. And when I say stupid, I mean, like, just... If I can't make sense of what you're saying, then I won't. Because I've had some people leave comments that I literally don't know how to respond to. Where there's no sense of what they're trying to get across. So that's the case with stupid comment. If I can't figure out what you're saying, we can't really talk, now can we? Likewise, I am a native English speaker, so responses in other languages, I got nothing. Glad you're watching and possibly enjoying my videos, but I can't really talk to you, because I don't know how. Other than that, though, I'm reasonably chatty. But yeah, I gotta wonder how many people have figured out what I'm doing already. I'm sure most of you figured out I was attempting a boat, but then again, it was such a crappy boat that it's hard to tell, right? Right. But whatever I'm doing, it's gonna take the entire desert to do it. Well, I hope it won't, but it probably will. Let's be honest here. I'm the guy who frequently, in Minecraft, digs up entire beaches just for my sand-related projects. And this is more sand-related than most of them. Very, very sand-intensive, you know? Okay, so update time. Very broke, actually. Very broke. More broke than I was expecting to be, in fact. But roommate might have a line on a job, so I am hopeful. Might have 2 lines on a job, in fact. I have ham, which is always a plus. Finally found the ham I've been looking for forever. The one that Walmart stocks. Called Kentucky Legend. Get off my screen. Anyway, Kentucky Legend ham is one of those boneless hams. It's kind of like... Well, brick isn't the right word. I wanted to say it kind of comes in a brick, but it's not a brick. It's one of those kind of oval things that hams come in. It's a boneless ham, and it's not like, say, a spiral ham. Because I was like, oh, you mean a spiral ham? No, I don't mean a spiral ham. I can't stand those things. I don't know if it's the texture of it or the fact that they tend to be glazed or what, but I just don't do spiral ham. It's not my thing. Really doesn't work for me. But yeah, the Kentucky Legend is not a spiral ham, it's a boneless. I've got a 4-pound one and a 9.5-pound one. Well, 4.5, but you get the idea. And I have... what have I? I do have. Don't know what I have, but I have. Oh, and it's not a honey glazed ham, because you get all sorts of hams like that. Oh, it's honey glazed, and it comes in a bag with handles and bleh. No, 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 no. Don't like those bagged hams. I don't like those foil-covered bagged hams because they are hiding my ham from me. I want to see the ham I'm going to buy. frickin' ham and a burqa. Not to be culturally insensitive or anything, but it's basically what it is, you know? You know, I just realized how culturally insensitive that was. Because, as I recall, pigs are considered a very unclean animal in Islam. So, I doubly apologize. I mean, I don't particularly agree with more or less anything in Islam, but I am also not out to offend anyone. And not out of fear, I just don't like generally pissing people off as a rule, you know? But, yeah. So, I don't do like those hams. I don't like the glazed hams, because I'm not a sauce person either. I mean, like, people, like, oh, get chicken nuggets, get sauce on it. No, I don't do sauce. I'm really weird about seasonings, actually. I do salt and seasoned salt. In rare cases, I'll do ketchup. But for the most part, I'm one of those people where if you need to add something to it, you probably didn't need to eat it in the first place. You know? Like, French fries, I'm notorious with French fries. I won't put anything but salt on French fries. Unless they are oven cooked, oven cooked crinkle cut fries. Like the kind they serve in schools. And that's only because those things are completely inedible without ketchup. And I remember this from my childhood, and I was reminded of it months ago when my niece and I, the one that I don't talk to anymore, for reasons that I'm not going to drag out into the internet, that I probably mentioned, but I'm not going to bring up if I haven't. And I'm not going to remind anyone if I have. If you know, cool. If not, just shake your head and move on, you know? But, we were hungry, and all we really had was French fries, and the deep fryer was down at the moment, because we had no oil for it. And in fact, the oil we did have was beyond disgusting. Because we tried making something, and it came out, borderline toxic, actually, in its inedibility. And it was, a crime against the tongue. May in fact have been a war crime. We don't know. But, it pretty much left us with no choice for food except, hey, let's pop this thing in the oven. Okay, what's the worst thing that could happen? Middle school. Middle school is the worst thing that could happen. To my fries, anyway. But, yeah, if we didn't have ketchup, those fries would have been completely inedible. And completely uneaten because of that. But we had ketchup, so that was the thing. So, I don't like honey glazed ham. But I've got ham, and it should get me through quite a bit of the month. Well, no, it should get me through quite a bit of today. And part of the week. Because I gotta share some of it with the roommates and Mom. Though I won't lie, I did also buy it thinking, well, only me and Mom really eat ham, because the subject had come up in the case of lunch meat ham, that my niece didn't eat it, and I don't think my roommate did either, but I was wrong about that. So I'm thinking, okay, Mom and I will eat this, and Mom doesn't eat much, so most of this ham will go to me. Well, my roommate, the one who's looking for a job, is capable of eating just as much, if not more, than I am, so that ham probably won't last very long. But I also have potatoes for French fries, so food is a thing. I'm not going to starve. Swimming is a thing. I've been swimming. As strange as that sounds to be so excited about, I haven't really been swimming in forever. Not really, really. You know, I mean, I went swimming once, in the November of the year that I got my 3DS, so 2 years ago now. once I went swimming, basically. And several years ago, I went swimming at my friend's pool, the HeroClix Judge. But again, that was one night, and it was several years ago. And technically, I've only been swimming one day here, which was a couple days ago. I didn't do it. It was Monday, in fact. No, Sunday. That's what it was. It was one of those days. It was either Monday or Sunday, because yesterday I didn't have time because of the tournament. And because one of my D&D players and Star Trek players, who is also learning HeroClix, happened to come over early, because he couldn't sleep, and I couldn't sleep either, so he basically come, hang out, we did his teams and all that, you know. I ended up coming in second in the HeroClix tournament, and won the fellowship roll by a landslide. We do fellowship rolls, you do 2d6, you get 1 point for every win, and an extra point if you came in second, which I did. And I rolled an 11, and with my 3 extra points, I got a 14, so no one came close. The closest someone came was a modified 11. They rolled a 9 and had like 2 wins or something. But, yeah. And as everyone else pointed out, I didn't win enough. It doesn't matter even if I crit, I'm still not going to beat his roll. But, because the best they could do, since they each had 1, is if they rolled a 12, they could get a 13 and be 1 less than me, you know? And I wanted the Emma Frost figure, but that wasn't available at the time, because he hadn't opened that prize kit yet, which is fair. And the reason I wanted the Emma Frost is because I occasionally play Hellfire Club, and these new LEs all fit on team bases. And that's a team base I happen to possess. So instead, I got a friend of mine, Skinner, an Aqualad LE, because he plays Atlantis, and it's a new Atlantean for him, and it turned out, when I looked at him, that, oh my god, he is one of the best Atlanteans for his points. Period. He's really good. I mean, I have just made his meta figure for the team, you know? So, for some strange reason, he was incredibly pleased with this. Can't imagine why. But, yeah. I would give you the results of the Star Trek tournament, but there's really no results. Because the HeroClix judge, as usual, as is his tendency, did not get up in time. Surprise, surprise, he nubbed it up, he slept in. The tournament was supposed to start around noon. So I got everyone up and over here by 10 a.m. thinking, okay, he'll come pick us up, and we'll do the tournament thing, right? No. I call him at 12:01 because my other friend was getting rested. Like, where is he? I called him and I'm like, you coming? He's like, yeah, I'm just now leaving. I'm like, really? It's after 12. We were supposed to have started like a minute ago, and you're just now leaving to come get us. And it's then I get a call a half an hour. Okay, I'm about a half an hour out. So we didn't get there till like 2 p.m. HeroClix is on the same day and starts at 4. So, we get started, you know, we have one round. Anubis and the new guy, they finished their round pretty quick. My round was maddening in every sense of the word, because, for one thing, my opponent didn't know how to play. And after his match, the new guy came over and basically played the game for him, helped him out. Which I would complain more of if the judge, the HeroClix judge, had played before, but this is effectively his second game, so I let it slide this once. But, more importantly, my team included the USS Jaeger, which the judge had gotten for me. And he'd brought a whole bunch of his stuff, and I told him the night before, I'm like, bring the, said, can I use the Jaeger? Can you bring it? He's like, yeah, you can use the Jaeger. So, I expected him to bring it. Well, guess what he forgot to bring? The freaking Jaeger. So right off the bat, my team was done. And I also used Commander Shelby from the Jaeger, which is a crew. Didn't remember what she did offhand, and it didn't matter because he was bringing the Jaeger, you know? So he's like, well, it doesn't matter, just play another ship. What else did you bring? Or you have a bunch of ships, what did you bring? I'm like, I brought my team. Translation, I didn't bring anything else because you were supposed to bring it. Because I had enough faith in your ability to get the job done that I didn't plan ahead of what if he didn't bring it. So he's like, oh, that's no big deal, then we'll each just take one ship off. I'm like, that'd be a wonderful idea if the ships cost the same, you know? But I didn't say, put the same amount in the Jaeger that someone else did in their ships. Well, it turned out that he did have... He's like, well, I was going to proxy it, and then I'm like, oh, God, I don't have the dial, because you can't... You can proxy the stats in a base, you know? You're not supposed to, but we do a lot of things we're not supposed to do. However, you can't proxy the dial, or at least you can't if you don't know what it is. Because the thing I have that shows me all the ship stats and my fleet builder doesn't have the maneuver cards or the event dials. So, that sucks. But he's like, well, is it a Saber class? I'm like, yes, it is a Saber class, so he brought the dial. And then I found out he also brought the ship and the cardboard. He just forgot all of the cards, so I had to play the whole game without Shelby. And it turned out she would have made the difference, and that's what pissed me off. I'm like, I just know that because I'm missing her, that this would have saved me. And the fact is, she makes me harder to hit, which would have saved the Jaeger at least a little bit longer, which might have completely changed the way I played. So yeah, because he forgot my ship, I didn't win. But I can't complain too much, because we played for the month 6 prize, which they forgot our DS9, which was fine, because we still are getting it. It basically comes free, but you have to order it separately. But, and we weren't playing for Deep Space Nine today anyway. We were playing for, with the Bajoran, a Quorum Scout ship, which nobody really wants, except me, and that's only because I'm getting everything. But yeah, the judge, he's like, the best part was, he noticed how late the game was running. For one thing, he forgot to set a timer. These games are supposed to be timed, you know. If he'd set a timer, then we would have, you know, we would have had this thing a little differently. But he's also completely unironic and completely unaware of what he's saying. He says, you know, if we'd gotten here earlier, I'm like, yeah, if we'd gotten here earlier, you know, if someone had gotten up in time, like, well, I did a whole bunch of HeroClix games and all this, and I'm like, I don't care about your HeroClix games, I care about your Star Trek games. And the other thing is, he hasn't gotten the actions down. Because what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to move a ship, then give it its action. Then move the next ship and give it its action. And he has this nonchalance about the rules that infuriates me. And he knows it does. But that's not even why he does it. A lot of things he'll do just to piss me off. This actually isn't one of them. This is a case of him not seeing what it is. And he's like, well, it doesn't matter. He moves all his ships and then he does his actions. And I kept telling him, stop doing that. And I finally told him, okay, here's the deal. The next time you move a ship and don't do its action, you don't get that action. Period. You know? And he refused to see why it mattered. For one thing, I'm trying to get him in case he ever decides to play this for real, like at another venue other than mine, which is a more casual venue. If he ever wants to go to Gen Con and play Star Trek, for example, he's going to get disqualified if he does that shit. He will flat out get disqualified, and I know he will because I almost got disqualified for doing something even more minor than that. Which was, when you cloak, you have this green token next to you. When you firewall cloak, you flip the token over to red to show that, hey, I'm decloaking. Well, I wasn't doing that because I didn't think it was important, because the next turn I would decloak again. And I have enough faith that my opponent's paying enough attention to see that I'm cloaking and decloaking every turn. Well, he wasn't paying attention to that, and as a matter of fact, he thought he caught me on something, saying, hey, you haven't been recloaking. I'm like, yes, I have. Because if you notice, I only fire every other turn. The first turn I cloak the Defiant, which the Defiant has to have its cloak disabled to cloak. So I disable it. And then, oh, hello. Put down there in a minute. So I disable the cloak. Then, the next turn, I use my action to re-enable the cloak, which is not the same as turning it back on. Re-enabling just means it's so that I can turn it back on. It's kind of like overheating the system and then rebooting it, you know? Think of it like that, yeah. The computer overheated and I rebooted it kind of thing. Well, I overheated the cloak and I have to let it cool down for a second, and then I can use it again. And I told him that. He's like, well, I didn't realize that you had been decloaking this whole time. I'd have been target locking you. Now, how a target lock works is when a ship cloaks, the turn it cloaks, you can target lock it. However, you cannot target lock it any other turn following until it decloaks again. And I will give him that that was an important thing. That would have changed the way the game went. But I also give him the fact, and I told him this, that you should have been paying attention to what I was doing. And they told me basically if you weren't new, you'd have been disqualified for that. I'm like, okay, I know now. And they're like, yeah, that's why we're not disqualifying you, because you didn't know. This was at the time my second tournament. And that's a lot more minor than not doing your actions and then just, oh, well, he's going to do this, he's going to do this, he's going to do this. No, you don't get to do that. That's against the rules. And he's one of those people where he's like, well, I don't see the point to that rule until the new guy told him. And I only call him the new guy because I don't know if I have permission to use his actual name by him. And he hasn't recorded anything with me, so he doesn't have an online name for me to use for him. But he basically told him, well, keep in mind, sometimes you move out of order, which is to say, in this particular game, all of my captains moved before his captains. But normally, it's like, I'll have a ship, he'll have a ship, I'll have 2 more ships, he'll have a ship, I'll have a ship, he'll have a ship kind of thing, you know? And he says, if that's the case, it can really matter what you do. It's like, oh, well, that makes sense. And then he started... Well, he would have started doing it if he didn't freaking forget. He's like, well, you gotta give me some break here. I'm used to HeroClix. I'm like, I'm used to HeroClix too. I picked it up effortlessly. He's like, well, yeah, well, you're an Asperger. Which I'm not, and it irritates me when he uses that, you know? He thinks that's his cute little word, and it's not. It's insulting to me and to people who actually have the condition. And it's just... He's like, well... He also uses it whenever I pop out with any mild to general knowledge on anything. Like, I know, in Star Wars, I know the names of the lightsaber forms and what they do. He's like, well, you're just such an Asperger. I'm like, no, I take an interest in my hobbies. He's like, is that so unusual? I'm like, yes, when you don't take an active interest in... If you're supposed to be interested in something, and you don't learn about it, that's really strange, you know? Like, for example, let's say that he's in a Batman, and he happened to pop up with the thing, you know, in Batman's original incarnation, he had no problem using guns. He used to use a gun, etc. And I just suddenly call him a nerd over that? No. He's interested in Batman, so it's perfectly normal for him to know something like that. I like Star Trek, so it's perfectly normal, especially Deep Space Nine, so it's absolutely normal for me to know the mechanics of the Dominion War. And to read about the Dominion War, and the history behind it and all that. To know things about the Borg. I like Star Wars, and I read the novels, so it's really normal for me to do that. And I told him, that's why it is that every time me and your roommate... You know what, I can call him his nickname, P3, because you're not... That's not going to tell you anything, it'll tell us something. I'm just going to call him what we call him at the venue, which is P3. Because he's the third person at our venue who has a particular P name. You know? There's a father and son, and then there's him. And the P name could be anything, and if you can figure it out, more power to you, but I'm not going to confirm or deny it, unless he tells me otherwise. So I told him that's why when P3 and I are around and we talk Star Wars, we'll get into a conversation for like 20 minutes. And meanwhile, he's trying to... One time he was trying to make fun of me on it, and P3 chimed in, and we just took off completely ignoring him because we're in conversation about something we like, you know? I mean, I haven't followed The Walking Dead, the show or the comic, and they've been following both. And I don't snap at him every time he mentions, oh, this person did this, it was so awesome. I'm like, yeah, you're an Asperger for knowing that. No, I read the comic. No, you're just an Asperger. No, it's friggin' annoying. And the worst part is, I think he actually does have some kind of condition. Not necessarily that one, but he has a condition because he is completely incapable of realizing social cues like that. Like, he physically cannot comprehend The idea that someone could be offended by something that he's not offended by. It doesn't even cross his mind. He thinks that people are just being too sensitive. If he's not offended by it, like, he's like, well, it's not an offensive thing. Yeah, it is for some people. Especially if you're being called something when you're not. You know? Or when he uses it in a derogatory way. Like, he happened to say something about me. He's like, it's a compliment, it's a compliment. I'm like, no, it's not a compliment coming from you. Not the Asperger thing, was another thing he was complimenting me on. And I mentioned that all your compliments are backhanded compliments, you know? And he's kind of chuckling at that, and he really laughed when I put it into context. I said, it's like you wipe your ass with your hand and get shit all over it, rub it in my hair, and then tell me how nice and shiny my hair looks. I'm like, yeah, because it's got your friggin' corn oil in it, you know? And then he just laughed, and he's like, yeah, I guess it is kind of backhanded. Because, I mean, in that scenario, yes, you're telling me my hair looks nice after styling it with your own butt grease, you know? It's not quite the same thing. It's not the same thing as running into me in the street and, hey, Kyrix, your hair looks awesome. Oh, thank you. It's just kind of, hold on a second, you look like a nub. Let me just wipe shit in your hair. Yeah, your hair looks awesome now. That's not quite the same thing. Although I will give him credit for finally getting an analogy. Stupid flying bug all over my keyboard. Just kind of chilling out. It's not doing anything except annoying me. Nope, that's sand. I need sandstone. Don't know if I mentioned this, but I finally saw Big Hero 6. Good movie, that. Really enjoyed it. Really love the song in it, that Immortals song. Been watching more blind commentaries and stuff of everything, especially since Season 5 started. And Season 5, the first half of the first episode, very rocky start, but I stuck with it. The episode got really good in the second half, you know? The two-parter did, rather. Still have to get together with Sammy to finish Season 2, then I gotta send her Season 3. Then we gotta start Season 4 and Equestria Girls 1 and 2. Although, obviously, we're gonna see Equestria Girls 1 after Season 3, because that's when it happens, but, I also gotta get Season 4 zipped up and sent to her, and there's a lot going on. So much desert that's not going to be here when this project is done. And this particular project that could easily take me the rest of the year. It really, really could. You know what, let's do a little exploring. Not there. Here. Well, I'm curious what's down here, to be honest. Oh, nothing's down here. That makes me sad. I was all ready to go exploring and everything. Oh, well. Let's go over here. Fortunately, there's more than enough desert to get done what needs to get done. But yeah, I've got the Aquarium coming. I gotta wait till next week, because he hasn't paid for the kit yet. But I do have the Aquarium, so that's one figure I don't have to buy, or one ship, rather. Next week could be one of my events, could be one of his, we don't know yet. Depends on my roommate. If he gets his job, it'll probably be one of my events. If he doesn't, it'll probably be one of the other guys. Actually, it couldn't be mine yet, because none of my kits have arrived yet, but hopefully soon. Oh, wait. Do I have any sandstone in here? Or any sand? Nope, used it all. Damn. But one of our players, my usual ride for HeroClix back at the old place, did not make it, and I hope she won't be too furious about us playing for the forum, because it's a Bajoran ship. There is no Bajoran faction, so to speak. It's literally the scout ship, the interceptor, and part of Deep Space Nine. Because Deep Space Nine's a multi-faction ship. Station thing, you know? So it's not like there's any big famous Bajoran starships out there, or that she's really looking forward to playing the Bajoran faction. I honestly don't think she'll care. But yeah, I couldn't have done... Even if mine had arrived yesterday, I couldn't have run it because she wasn't there, and I don't want her to miss it. And I specifically picked this one out of the two kits we had, because I had the choice, because she doesn't play Dominion, but she might have wanted that brain ship anyway, because you never know, she might start playing Dominion. So that could have been the thing. And that was also a better prize in general. But if the new guy does well enough in this next month, or in the next week's tournament, he could finally have his own stuff, because he's got his Peregrine Fighter resource coming in. Once the judge, and I almost said his name, whoops, the judge pays for this kit, he'll get his free resource ship. He'll also get his Acorum, which will give him another thing to play. It's not his faction, but at least it's something that will belong to him. And he will get the Hideki fighters probably next Tuesday as well, because we'll probably be doing month 5's kit next Tuesday. I haven't gotten mine yet, and until my roommate gets his money, I won't be able to pay for mine anyway. Because the way this store works is, normally stores buy the kits and run it, but we as the judges are pretty much left entirely in charge of it. If I want the kit, I buy the kit, and she basically lets me purchase it at cost. After which the kit is pretty much mine to do with as I please. I can run whatever event I want with it. And I'm not going to say where it is on the off chance that someone wants to try and report this and get me in trouble or get them in trouble. But I do, of course, plan to run tournaments for it, but I could, for example, just keep the kit. There's no incentive for me to keep the kit, but I could. But that way, for example, I can decide if I need to keep resources or something. Yeah. And I'm really kind of looking forward to if we can get one of the blind booster things in the future, if there's a new blind booster set. Like, Q Continuum is not. I know that already. But let's say the next one, let's take a wild stab in the dark and say the Zindi incident. Let's say that'll be the next big event. And let's say the Zindi incident has blind boosters. Then the perk is, since I have to buy the kit, I can control what's in it, you know, or what's done with it. So, let's say there are 10 blind boosters, and let's say only 6 people show up. Well, that's 4 blind boosters that just kind of go away. Well, I'd keep them in this case, because I've already paid for them, you know. And in that case, also, the money for the boosters would go to me, because they don't belong to the store, they belong to me, because I bought them. So when the people at my venue were to buy those blind boosters, that's $15 per person, basically. The downside to this being that that would cost a small freaking fortune just to get the kit in the first place. But yeah, stores as a whole are not supposed to sell the boosters. Like, for the tournament blind boosters, I can't, like, the store can't just, oh, well, we've got these collective boosters. But the other half of that is, for example, let me put it this way. Let's say, use the collective as an example. Let's say we get the collective, and it comes with all the blind boosters, you know, the Jaeger, the Gavroche, which I'm probably not pronouncing properly, the third wing attack ship, the Moth, and the Vortivore, right? And there's really only 5 or 6 people, tops, who play at our venue. Well, after the collective event, and this has come up with other things that NECA has released, like Fear Itself and War of Light. You are not allowed to sell Fear Itself or War of Light boosters until after the events. For example, if for some reason we still had a brick of Fear Itself left at the end of Fear Itself, there's nothing stopping us from selling that brick of Fear Itself, because the event is over. But you're supposed to save it for the event, and whatever's not used in the event is store's discretion. And that's what I would do. It's not like I'm going to say, hey, I've got all these collective boosters, who wants to buy a Jaeger? No, it'd be a case of whatever's left is whatever's left. And since I would have already bought and paid for those things, in this case it would really be a situation of me giving out my own ships. But what I would intend to do is try and complete my set. Damn it. Really? You were doing so good. Complete my set on the blind boosters with whatever's left, and then if there's anything left, because for all I know, I'll get people from other venues coming in, and there won't be much left over. Which will greatly piss me off, to be perfectly honest, because there'll be 5 ships that I have to complete for my own set. But let's say that we get our usual 5, which means there's literally 5 boosters left over. So if in the first tournament each person pulls a separate ship and none of the doubles are pulled, that means that in the first month I've completed my set. You know, then we go on to month 2 and month 3, and at the end of month 3 I'll basically say, okay, who doesn't have what ships? These are the ships that are left, who wants one, you know? And I'll probably give them to them for $15, because I had to pay for them, you know? Or I might make them other things, but I mean, I want to make sure that my players have access to everything they want. Because, I mean, as cool as it is to have exclusive stuff, it's also no fun to be the only person there who doesn't have something, you know? And I really want to look out for all of my players, especially Anubis and the new guy. Anubis is still on the fence whether he wants to play at all. And I don't blame him. I mean, he barely... The only reason he's able to afford HeroClix is because of me and Skinner buy stuff, and the judge and a couple other people. We hook him up with our extras, our doubles and such. Well, Star Trek doesn't have doubles. So he's not going to catch, like, oh no, Kyrix pulled another Enterprise D. Maybe he'll give me some extra stuff? That's not going to happen. So... Hold on. That was Mom knocking on the door asking if the cat could come in because he wants in, but he'll have to wait. So yeah, in the case of Star Trek, Anubis is kind of screwed because he owes me money. He owes the woman that I will continue to refer to as our driver money because she bought him some stuff and he bought it off of her. And that doesn't leave much money left over for anything really. So he can't really get let's call it collateral figures for many of us because there aren't any. There aren't any doubles that we're pulling unless we're buying stuff. And even then, that's just cards, not ships, which are what he needs. So if he were to get into Star Trek, he would actually have to buy things. And for reasons I just stated, he kind of can't do that. So I can completely understand him not wanting to play. That being said, if he does play enough, using my own figures, and get good enough, he can win figures, and then make ships out of that, or fleets out of that. Like, since the new guy got the other Acorum, he now has the Acorum and a Peregrine that he can play. That's not the basis of a fantastic fleet, But those are two figures, well, a figure and a resource that belong to him that he can use on his own stuff. And next month, there's every chance that he will get the Ravalaris Green Fighter as well. Well, not fighter. Fighter carries the connotation of being a starfighter thing, which it is not. It is a warship. A battle cruiser, even. And if he has that, then he literally has enough to start a fleet with. And it's not great, because the Akorum's kind of low cost, and the Breen Fighter, while good, is not as good as the other Breen Fighter, but you gotta start somewhere, you know? I started with a starter pack. I started with an extra Enterprise D, all the stuff that came in the starter, the Defiant, and Chang's Bird of Prey. That's what I started with. And now I have just about everything. So, you never know. Plus, there's my other stuff coming up. We've got A Matter of Honor. We've got Peak Performance. We've got Q Continuum. We've got... what we got? In August, we've got... August and September, we've got Year of Hell and Balance of Terror. That's a whole bunch of extra ships that he and Anubis are both capable of winning. And here's the fun fact about ships like that, where you play them by themselves, you know? If you play them long enough, you'll eventually get really good with them, you know? So he could potentially, even with the Akorum and the Ravalaris, he could potentially get specialized with them, you know what I mean? So... So it's not like I'm just kind of screwing him out of stuff. Can I make hay blocks? I can, but I can't make them here. I'm gonna make a hay block for my horse. Because if it weren't for my horse, I wouldn't have spent that week in college. Or that year in college, whatever it was. God, I wonder if Lewis Black has done anything recently, stand-up wise, that I should see. I know Patton Oswalt did, which made me very happy. It's not like I'm using that for anything else. I don't eat in this game. But horses do. Hello, Mr. Horse. I got a present for you. Nom nom nom. That was incorrect. Uh-oh. That was also incorrect. No. So much incorrect coming. There we go. Now you can just have it. Okay, I need to be getting stuff done here. I've gone this whole time and I barely even finished that first part of the project. Because last week when I started it, I just set the foundation. Now I need to set the actual floor. But yeah, like I said, I'm kind of hoping that they'll get good enough that they can effectively build their ship empire exclusively from tournament prizes. Although, unlike in HeroClix, tournament prizes aren't necessarily meta or broken. They're often good, but not great, you know. And I can see why, to an extent, that they need to be good enough to entice players to try to win them, but not so good that they overshadow the actual sales, because this isn't like HeroClix where you buy a booster hoping to get a chase, and you get just, you know, rares and such. Because when Star Trek, except for certain tournaments, again with blind boosters, and there have only been 2 sets that have done this so far, out of 4 big multi-month OP events, there have only been 2 so far that have done this. Aside from those, you know what you're buying before you buy it, you know? So if the USS Hood is better than the USS Excelsior, why would I buy the Excelsior when I could just win the Hood, you know? Ravlaris is another example. I've broke it down for my friends that, from my playstyle at least, the Gore Portas, which is the mass market version. One moment. Oh, good back scratch. And camera wiggle. Go back, please. There we go. The Gore Portas is superior in every single field to the Ravlaris. Its captain has a better effect. It has better weapon slots, item slots, or crew slots rather. The crew is better, in my opinion. It comes with better weaponry. The ship has a cooler effect. Not to say that the Ravlaris is a bad ship. Not at all. It's a very good ship. It's just that the one you buy is better. Like for the new guy, because he was tending towards Dominion, at least for the Jem'Hadar, but if he wanted to start a Dominion fleet, the Ravlaris is a good place to start. Because right now he's on a low budget, and he can't afford to buy the Gore Portas. So for him, the Ravlaris can become the backbone of his Dominion fleet. You know? And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. But, like I said, if I have to choose one Breen ship, I'm going to choose the Gore Portas. Because it's just better. But if I don't have to choose, I'll play them both. And to be perfectly honest, I'm very tempted next week, if we play for that, and if I win it, I'm tempted to keep it. So that I can run 3 Breen ships together and just go to town on people with them. You know? Because it sounds like it'd be fun, to be honest. And the Breen ships are very powerful, and if used right, they can do a lot of damage. But I mean, that way I can run the Gore Portas, I can run the Ravlaris, and I can run just a generic Breen ship. Come on, damn it, I gotta find something. Here. This'll do. It's a stone pick, but it's a pick at least. But on that note, aside from this month, which a new one comes out, I own every single Dominion ship. And again, as soon as my roommate gets a job and gets an income and can pay me back some of the money that I'm owed now, I will get all of last month's ships and all of this month's ships. And then I will have all the Dominion again. And I really need to get started getting back into playing the Dominion, because I've been playing the Federation a lot lately. Well, no, that's not completely true. My non-Borg fleet in the Month 1 event was Dominion, and it did very well for itself. Yeah, if this were an actual Let's Play, this is the part where I would fast forward or do some kind of time lapse and put on some goofy music so that you wouldn't have to listen to this. Or not listen to this, but watch this. But this thing right here, This Week in Kyrix, for those who, for some reason, have stumbled on this without watching the other ones. This Week in Kyrix purpose is to provide me an opportunity to basically talk about what happened for this week. which originally was an update thing on like, oh, this is what I'm working on this Let's Play, and this is how much progress I made on this Let's Play. But my recordings have fallen a bit shy, so it just keeps you updated on stuff I've been doing. And that way, rather than making an update video for every little thing that happens, if something major happens, I make an update video for that, and or discuss it here. So, depending on how close to Wednesday it is. So this is just kind of, think of this like a sandwich, you know? Or at least the way I think of a sandwich. See, with me, I have no trouble just eating sandwich meat, or better yet, think of it as a bacon sandwich. Because the big thing in my family, at least, when we had bacon, was to put it between bread, make a sandwich out of it, you know? And I never liked that, because I don't like bread, as a rule. The last few times we've had bacon, I've eaten bacon sandwiches, though. Because we were pretty broke and running very low on money and food, and whatever we ate had to last. Like, for example, when I eat this ham, some of it's going to go in bread, because I need to make the ham last, and bread kind of pads it out, right? Well, this video is going to be an hour long, because it's all my updates. And you could A, stare at the picture of my Larvitar playing on his laptop for an hour, listening to me drone on, or you could watch me do something mildly constructive here on Minecraft for an hour. And I figured this would be better. Because at least, I mean, granted, 90% of people who even follow This Week in Kyrix, and there are a couple of you who at least seem to, because I do have views on most of these. But most of you are probably just going to have this thing minimized anyway. But for the handful of you that actually watch it, I want to give you something to watch, you know? Oh, speaking of watching things, you may recall that I've mentioned in the past a podcast. It's looking more and more like it's going to be a thing, and it's not the kind of podcast I thought it would be. Because you see, the DM didn't see fit to tell any of us this, but the podcast is going to be a video podcast. And a couple people, for a couple minutes at least, were like, oh, I don't know, I don't think I want to be on camera. But he's like, well, I don't know if we'd even be able to do the podcast. And my response was, he's like, I don't think we'll have the equipment for it. I'm like, a podcast isn't too dissimilar from what I already do, and I do it on this laptop, you know? And I'm not exactly running a state-of-the-art piece of tech here. And then he mentioned cameras. I'm like, what, this is going to be video? But we have a line on at least 2 cameras, and possibly a third one. And maybe more. So, the video podcast is likely going to be a thing. Again, it'll be once a month, Temple of Elemental Evil. I have changed the character that I'm going to play. I was originally going to play a halfling rogue based personality-wise on Garrick from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, until I did some thinking and realized that I could very easily be seen as trying to play a Kender. I have nothing wrong with Kender. I wouldn't mind playing a Kender. I think I could do it very well. But Kender tend to annoy people. You know? And I think it would be bad for the views if I had the Kender thing, if they thought I was trying to be a Kender. But yeah, if you've ever wondered what I look like, it'll be the podcast. Because I'm in the podcast. I know when the recording will happen. The recording will happen Sunday after next, I believe. Because, yeah, we had to miss 1 week because of Easter. Which, yeah, Easter was this Sunday because I have a buttload of Easter candy, that's why. And I don't buy Easter candy on Easter. I buy it on Cadbury Day. That's what it was. I spent Easter at the pool. Because I didn't go to the pool on the day that I went swimming. And in case you're wondering what Cadbury Day is my own holiday. Other people celebrate Easter, I celebrate Cadbury Day. And what Cadbury Day is Cadbury is the day after Easter when all the Easter candy goes on sale 50% off or more. And I call it Cadbury Day because that's the best day to buy Cadbury eggs. Specifically, the caramel ones. Because while I can eat the cream eggs, I don't really like them. Because Cadbury eggs are, well, for candy, they're really expensive, you know? But, so the day after Easter, they all go on sale, and that's when you buy them, because they're cheap. Like, if you're lucky, you can get them for like 25 to 50 cents an egg. So I'll literally go up to the counter with entire boxes, and we live right next to Walgreens, so I went up and got a bunch of Easter candy, spent about $21 on Easter candy for me and Mom. And then I took my roommates up there, and I bought them about $22 worth of candy. Some of it was mine, though. Like, a couple little things were mine, so we all have Easter candy now. And even with the way I go through stuff, I still have plenty of it, you know? But, yeah, I had a good Cadbury Day. I hope you all did, too. You know, I just think it's funny. Maybe it's the fact that I'm American, but I'm amused whenever I see anime with this thought in Japan that men aren't allowed to like sweet things, that it's somehow unmanly. And while I'll admit my desire for chocolate and such has gone down as I've gotten older, it's mostly because I have so much access to it now. Kind of like how I don't like cake, cookies, and brownies as much anymore because I can make them whatever I want. And for a while, anyone knows, the first time you're able to make something as much as you want, you do. And then you kind of lose your flavor for it for a while. Like, I'll tell you firsthand, being able to make cookies whenever I want, I made cookies at least every week for a while, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done with cookies. I'll still eat cookies, I'll still make them too for myself, but not often. Not like I thought I would when I was a kid. I'm like, when I grow up, I'll learn how to make cookies, and I'll make cookies every day. And I have for a while, but, yeah. But, yeah, that's the only reason I don't really care as much for chocolate. Plus, I'm more of a white chocolate person. But, like, I see episodes of Ranma, and it's like, you see him go in. There's one episode, I think it's the episode where shampoo is introduced, actually, where Ranma and Akane are in an ice cream shop, and Ranma is sitting there doing what he does, using his cute girl side to get extra treats and whatnot by flirting with the cashiers. And he won't. He's like, man, I could never. He's picking out on. It's like, I could never eat these as a guy. And she's like, why not? It's like, it's just unmanly. And I'm like, really? Because I eat lots of ice cream. Not necessarily those weird Sunday parfait looking things, but that's just because I don't particularly like those. I mean, there's nothing unmanly about sitting in front of an ice cream store or in an ice cream store eating something like that. If I liked them, you bet your ass I'd walk myself up to Dairy Queen, for example, and order one and eat it right there in the store. It's just a silly cultural thing that amuses me. And then again, there are other cultural things that are either silly to some or make no sense to others, like one thing I wouldn't do, or I wouldn't like, I don't remember if it's China, Japan, or just that area of Asia in general, but differences in table manners. If I invite you to my house, and I serve you some ham, because we're talking about ham, because I found some hams. Yay, ham. Anyway, I give you a whole bunch of ham. So let's assume if you are Muslim or Jewish, let's just assume, for the purpose of this conversation, that you can eat ham. And you eat all but a little bit of it. Now, while I'm a little more understanding about this, let's put myself in the cultural thing of, oh, you didn't like my food, I'm offended, you know. Here's what would happen in reality. Oh, you're not going to finish that? Here, I'll finish it. Because that happens all the time here. But let's say that I'm not, that's not me. Let's say the normal person, how we look at it from a cultural standpoint. If you're offered food and don't finish it all, it's kind of an insult that, oh, my food wasn't good enough for you, or that I gave you too much, or whatever. You know? So, it's... Oh, there's the timer. So basically, in America, you're supposed to finish whatever's given to you. Whatever's on your plate. Because that's punished into you as a child. And again, I invite Skinner over here. He eats over here a lot. Anubis comes over a lot, but he doesn't eat here, because he doesn't freaking eat anywhere, you know? But I'll make macaroni and tuna or mac and cheese, and we'll get a big bowl, and sometimes we'll go back for seconds, depending on who's living here at the time, if there was enough to get seconds. And sometimes he won't finish it, and he'll just hand it over here, and I'll polish it up. I don't care. You know? But if we were in, let's just say Asia, because I don't remember what country, and I don't want to piss anybody off. But if we're in Asia, and I do that, the host gets offended. Or at least, the host culturally is supposed to get offended. I might have a chill host who knows, oh, you're American, they do things differently there. And the reason for this offense is, oh, I didn't give you enough food? You know? Oh, well, I'm sorry that I didn't give you a big enough portion to feed your big fat ass, you know? That's the cultural way you're supposed to look at it. So, what you're supposed to do, for politeness' sake, is to eat all but a little bit of food. And that kind of pisses me off, because I hate wasting food, and I don't know why. Because I'm not one of those people who ever got the, oh, there's starving children in China and Africa or wherever speech, and I didn't have it punished or beaten into me. If we didn't want to eat, we didn't eat, you know. I don't know, maybe it's my inner sentimentality, and to an extent, empathizing with things that literally have no emotions. Because I have that, like, for example, we have 2 plush toys this week that we didn't have last week. When I was at Walgreens getting something, I don't know what it was. It wasn't Easter candy, but I don't know what it was. It was milk, I think. Yeah, I went up there to get milk. Did I? I don't know. I got something at Walgreens. And as I was checking out, the lady's like, hey, we can take it back at cosmetics. So I walked back to cosmetics. And in the cosmetics aisle, someone had put a plush bunny that they apparently had grabbed from another aisle and decided they didn't want to buy, and just set him down there. And I just kind of pet it, and it's soft, and it's fuzzy, and I walk off. And then I walk back, because they didn't want to take us to cosmetics for something, I don't know. So I go back, and the bunny's still there, and I pet it again, and I look at the price tag, I'm like, oh, you're $2.99, you're not even that expensive. So I decide, you know what, I don't like it just sitting here, it's so cute, I'm gonna buy it, and I just gave it to Mom, you know? Because I don't have room for any more plush critters right now. Well, I could make room for a plush rarity, but that's about it. You know, so I bought it, and gave it to Mom. The other night, I was walking to Circle K? Maybe Big Lots? Circle K or Big Lots. But I was walking there, and I happened to walk the long way, which was to say I didn't go through the little shortcut in the woods, so I was probably going to Big Lots. And I passed the dumpster, and someone had thrown out a bunch of stuff, you know? Like kids' toys, coloring books, that kind of thing. And a plush. At the time, I thought it was a husky. It's a German Shepherd, but it was a plush German Shepherd. And the reason I thought it was a husky is because it was dark out, and the only light was a yellow street light that made everything look yellow. Turns out the fur was black and orange, but under the light it just looked black and orange anyway. So I think, oh, it's a husky, and it just looks orange because of the light. Well, no. But it's sitting there and it's really cute, and I just kind of leave it. I'm like, no, there could be bed bugs or whatever there. Don't mess with it. But I made it a point to walk back the same way, and when I did, it was still there. So I pick him up, I sniff him to make sure he didn't smell like garbage. I'm like, you know what, this is too cute. I can't... It's too cute. It doesn't deserve to be thrown out and tossed in the trash compactor or a landfill or whatever. So I took it home, and I immediately tossed it in the dryer in case it had bed bugs, because you use the dryer to kill bed bugs. And the reason I mentioned bed bugs, it's not a silly thing. When we moved in here, we were taking the trash out and we saw a mattress that flat out said, bed bugs do not take. You know, someone had a mattress that had bed bugs and had tossed it out. The odds that the bed bugs would still be living there at the trash are almost non-existent. But I didn't want to take the chance. So, whenever something is abandoned there, I make sure, if someone brings it in, I make sure they wash it. Get everything off of it, you know? And in this case, I did the exact same thing. And that was because I just kind of anthropomorphized the crap out of it. I assign it emotions that it does not have. And I just don't like anything to go to waste. I feel as though it's potential being wasted, which is ironic because, as people would point out, I waste the crap out of my own potential, but that's my potential to waste, you know? So that might have to do with why I don't like wasting food, but it just points out a cultural thing that what's perfectly polite to do there, which is finish everything on your plate, is considered impolite to do somewhere else. Because you're insulting your host by suggesting that, oh, I had no trouble finishing that off. Which I don't see why that would be a thing, because your host would see that, oh, I'm satisfied, or, oh, God, I regret every bite of that. Not because it was horrible, but because, hey, I ate too much. Let's make another cow, baby. Cow. Keeps eating these cows. At some point, I'll need to branch off and separate the pigs from the cows, from the chickens, from the sheep. Not that I have chickens yet. But I will, as soon as I find some. Oh, that's right. I was going to do something a little different here, wasn't I? Let me just get it started, really. And then I'll end off, because I'm running late, or I'm running long again, rather. Not running late, running long. There's a difference. Oh boy, is there a difference. Alright, everybody. Wow, I made a thing. I made an Atari tank. Hold on. Look, I made an Atari tank. It's too long. Look, I made the Atari tanks. Yay, Atari tank. Let's put it back. Anyway, everybody, I'm Kyrix. This has been This Week in Kyrix. I hope you'll join me next week. Bye-bye, everybody.